In this series of videos, we're exploring how to create a future-proof program that will process three entirely different things that need to be processed at the end of the month. An annuity, where we're making a payment to a customer, maybe sending a paper check. Life insurance, where we're accepting payment and sending a bill to a customer. And employee, which is where we're paying our employees. We're going to coordinate these together with an interface called monthly item. That interface is going to have a method called execute, and it is going to be invoked by a class called runner, or actually we might just call this monthly runner to make it a bit more specific on what it's doing. So in this video, we're going to start off with the implementation of these classes in a brand new program. So I'm going to open up NetBeans, and I'm going to go to Projects, and I'm going to say File, New Project, and we'll call this one monthly processing. Whoops, I'm sorry. We'll say Java application. Got a little ahead of myself there. And we'll call it monthly processing. Okay. Just a moment as I change just do a little bit of, there we go. Change where it's located, confirm that I like the main class. Main class, I'm going to say monthly processing.monthly runner. So the main class, remember, that's the class with the main method, and that's where our program starts. So monthly runner and finish, and that will match up nicely with this class that we've indicated here called monthly runner. Okay, so we have our monthly runner, and now the next thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to want to make a class that represents, well, I'll tell you what, actually, first of all, let me go back and grab my files, because these files that we're looking at are actually in a different project. So I'm going to copy the files. Let's see, I want to put them under, we'll put them right at root. So I'm going to paste them right under monthly processing. And with just a little bit of hocus pocus, we see here we are. So we have input data, annuity, employee life insurance, and mutual fund, which we'll get to later. So with that, I'm going to go back to my projects, and I see my monthly runner. We'll go ahead and leave this guy alone for right now. What I need to do, though, is I need to make a class that represents each of these file types. So one for annuity, that's going to have first name, last name, and an annuity payment amount. One for employee, first name, last name, payroll amount, bank, routing, and transit account number. One for life insurance, first name, last name, payment amount, and also life insurance type. So let's go back to projects, and let's just make each of these individual classes. So new Java class, and we'll say annuity, there we go, just like so, and then finish. And for this, I'll simply make it quick and dirty. We'll say private string first name, private string last name, and then private, let's say, I guess we'll do, could do string or big double or big decimal, something like that. I suppose we'll just go ahead and make it an int. So int payment amount, and then right click, and then refactor, and encapsulate fields. There we go. And this will give us all of our getter and setters. And we'll say refactor, just like so. And we're looking pretty good there. So there's our annuity. Pretty quick and easy to do that. Let's go ahead and make another class. And this one we're going to call employee. And for employee, it's going to be similar. We'll have private. This one will be a little bit longer, though. So private string first name, private string last name, private int payroll amount. Again, if it were an actual payroll amount, I'd do a big decimal. Private string, looks like misspelled there. Bank name, private string routing transit, which is the bank's essentially unique identifier. Private string account number, which is essentially your unique identifier within the bank. So right click again, refactor, and then let's find that encapsulate fields. There we go. Select all and refactor, and there we go. And we have all our getters and setters. So you see that making these individual classes is coming together fairly quickly. So final one is life insurance. Okay, and for life insurance, we'll say private string first name, private string last name, private, let's say int bill amount, like so. And of course, you know where we're going from here. Right click refactor, and then we'll choose encapsulate fields and select all, and refactor. And so now we have a fair amount of our classes done here. We have the monthly runner started, annuity, life insurance, and employee. The next thing that we need to do is we need to consider this monthly item, but really it kind of helps to figure out what the monthly runner is going to do. Well, first things first, that monthly runner is going to have to get access to this input data directory and then read the files within this input data directory and decide how to process them. How to process them might be a little bit tricky. Let's just start by verifying that we can get access to those files. So what we'll do is, first of all, do a little housekeeping here, do a little cleanup here. So let's say read in files from a directory. So I'll say file dir equals new file, and then we'll say input data. Now this is a little tricky because in Java a file can represent either a physical file on disk or a directory. And in this case you notice I have not put any slashes back and forth anywhere here, so it's a little confusing what it is. What we're doing is we're saying just find that relative input data directory relative to the project where we are currently running this. We would probably want to give that a fully qualified name all the way back to the root of the file system, or some way where we're not assuming it's local. But in any case, when you see file here, we're referring just to the directory input data, not to the individual files. Okay, next, get a list of the individual files. Okay, so we'll say dir, and then we'll say .list files, because once again, remember that a file in Java can represent either an individual file or a directory. Now watch this trickiness. So I'm going to hold down Alt-Shift and press V. Notice where my cursor is. So, yep, there we go. List files. This is introduce variable in NetBeans, Alt-Shift and V. What it does is when our cursor is on a method, it takes a look at the return type of that method. It declares a variable of that return type, and then gives it a variable name. So it saves us a little time if we're calling a method and we're not quite sure what that method is returning. I'll shorten this and just call it files, just like so. Okay, now what we could do is we could iterate over these files and shake hands with each one of them. We probably want a proof of concept to make sure that everything's working correctly first. But let's do for each, which in NetBeans is as simple as typing FORE and then press tab and let it autocomplete. Notice that NetBeans is smart enough to realize that the closest thing that is a collection is this files array here. So it says, okay, I'm going to iterate over files array. Every time I loop, I'm going to reach the next file in this directory, and I'm going to save it into the variable called file, which in other words is our iteration variable. So I'll say iterate over every file in the files directory, or in the files collection rather. And on each iteration, store the currently accessed file in the variable named file. Okay, so from here, we can get the file name. Let's say file.getName. And this will at least give us a little validation that indeed we are able to access these files. So once again, Alt-Shift-V. We'll save that into a variable. We'll call it file name, just like so. There we go. And save. And at this point, we're not nearly complete yet, but we at least do have enough to try to kind of go through and make sure the program runs as we want. So I right-click and I say debug. I see the Pepto-Bismol line turns mint green, and I want to just step over this line. So we remember in the debugger, that's going to be F8 to step over, F7 to step into. So F8 gives us access to that directory. Now here's the real tell. Does this line execute? The line does execute, and let's take a look at files here. And if you take a look, it looks like we have about 6 files. Let's expand, and you see the first one is input data, and then annuity 01234 text. The next one is annuity 01235. And the next one is annuity 01238. If I go over to files, we'll see, sure enough, those are the first 3. And of course I can continue, and I can see employee 01237, and so on and so forth. So at this point, I know I'm able to open that directory and read the files. That will help me with my UML diagram here, because I've created the monthly runner, still a bit more work to do, and annuity, life insurance, and employee classes, I've created those. Still more work to do there as well. But what I have not yet created is this monthly item interface which ties each of these three classes together. Now I know some information. I know that monthly runner is able to open those files and read those files. What I might do is just pass a file reference from monthly runner down to each of these individual classes, annuity, life insurance, and employee, and say, okay, here's your file. Why don't you figure out how to parse this? Why don't you figure out what to do with it? So that helps me understand what the signature is going to look like for this monthly item interface. Let's go ahead and make that. I'll terminate our program, which is currently debugging, and go back to Projects View. And I'm going to go to our monthly processor, and I'm going to say New Java Interface, and this one will say monthly item, and finish. And in the monthly item interface, we're going to say void execute file, and terminate with a semicolon, and we'll simply say provide a command interface to a series of classes, and then a file that contains data that we want to process. Okay, now it doesn't know what a file is here, so just a little bit of Alt-Enter, add import, and save, and now we've completed that monthly item. Now let's go to our annuity class, and let's add this dotted line relationship that we saw in our UML diagram between annuity and monthly item. We can do that by simply saying implements monthly item. Okay, as soon as I do that, we get a red line. Let's see, and we know we want to fix a red line immediately. So let's Alt-Enter, and what does it say? Did I misspell monthly item? Oh, I did misspell monthly item. No worries. We'll simply refactor, rename, and add monthly item, add the missing L. Let NetBeans do all the work for us. And now all of a sudden we see, okay, the red line's changed, and now annuity is redlining, and we want to choose add all abstract classes. If we look down below, we see that our annuity class now has this execute method signature that we created up in monthly item. So I save. We probably want that, on second thought, we probably want that monthly item to also throw an exception in case it cannot read the file. So let me go ahead and add that in, and then I'll add that to our annuity as well. Just a moment. I'm just thinking, because I know we're going to do some file I/O, we probably want to deal with exceptions. Okay, employee, let's do a similar thing. Employee implements a monthly item. And of course, as soon as I save, we see employee is redlining. Implement all abstract methods. We scroll down to the bottom, and we have this execute method, and I save. Life insurance. Life insurance also implements monthly item. Okay, and save. And Alt-Enter, and implement all abstract methods, and save. Okay, and we have our execute method. It's not doing anything just yet. Now, if I go back to monthly runner, we have a good construction set up here. What we're going to find out is that we can issue the execute method on a monthly item class, or let's say object, by using the command pattern. That, and also we will create a monthly item object using an abstract factory pattern. So those are a couple of things that we still have left to do in this program. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now, because in this video I just wanted to get the program set up, and I wanted to be able to model our UML diagram, which at this point we've successfully done. We know there's more work to do, but not to worry. We'll save that in the next video, where we take a look at our ultra simple abstract factory pattern, and also we're going to take a look at invoking our command pattern. So we'll do that in the next couple of videos. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.